Hello dear friends, I'm happy to announce that Chessable has published my course today with the title The Art of Chess, a Practical Workbook. Today I will show you some key positions from that course while also explaining why I created it. This course is on positional skill building. It combines mixed puzzles from the Art of series I created for Chessable. The art of exchanging pieces, awakening pieces, burying pieces, and multi-purpose moves. By the way, it's black to play in this position. While I set the context, please try to find the best plan for black from this position. What should black play? There's a beautiful strategic operation for black that gives them a clear advantage here. Okay? I truly believe in the value of the middle game work. Middle game, to my mind, is the most important area that you should spend a lot of time in, because that's a bridge between opening and the end game. And my goal with this course is to break down the complexity of the middle game to its core, explaining complex concepts in a clean medium so learning takes place. That's why I crafted most of these positions for the best learning outcomes. There is no noise, there is no distractive noise, so you can focus directly on the key gist information. Unlike in the actual courses of the Art of series, this workbook is mixed puzzles. So nobody's telling you whether the solution is about an exchange or a pawn play to awaken your pieces. Okay? It must be you who need to pull the right information from your long-term memory, and this is called retrieval practice. That's great for learning, retention, and consolidation. That's one of the overarching goals of this workbook. You need to figure out the theme yourself, which means flexibly applying what you learned in the actual courses. For example, my little prompt for you about this position is, have you noticed that the best piece in the white's position is a knight on c4? That keeps the entire position intact for white, because if that knight disappears, then the c2 pawn is a clear target on a semi-open file. That knight also attacks your pawn on a5, tying down your rook, and so on, right? Killing all the play on the c file. So the correct solution for black is to simply exchange off the best piece in the enemy position. Now, please tell me the correct move, folks. Yes, you're a great player if you found the move knight b6, forcefully exchanging off the best piece in the enemy territory. The art of exchanging pieces highlighted this concept of removing the best piece from the opponent by a trade can drastically change the position to your benefit, right? After takes, can you see this pawn on c2 has become a clear target by the heavy pieces of black? For example, rook c1, queen c6, and there is no way for white to even guard the pawn on c2. Black will simply take the pawn and achieve a great advantage. Instead of knight b6, if you go and plant your knight on c3, the problem, folks, is they will take, and you need to fill the outpost on c3 with a pawn. You never want that. You generally want to use those weak squares, outpost squares, with your pieces. Now you need to fill the square with a pawn. Two bad things for black. This pawn on c2 is no longer a target. You voluntarily close down the c file. Plus, nobody can repel the knight on c4 anymore. You left the only piece, your knight, that could challenge this piece on c4. Suddenly, after rook d1, it's white who is having a small advantage in this position. Can you see? One trade deteriorates the position and gives the advantage to white. Another trade almost gives you a winning advantage. This was the gist information that you study in the art of exchanging pieces. In the workbook, there are highlight chapters. First of all, I'll be giving you those positions to refresh your memories, to highlight the gist information from each course in the Art of series, and this will be followed by 3 different puzzle sections with increasing difficulty. So you always will stay on the sweet spot of desirable difficulty. Not too easy, not too difficult puzzles. All the prompts and scaffolds in the video section as well. I'm offering you the best learning outcomes. This will make you a great strategic player, folks. I truly believe in this. White just played the move g3 here. This is the highlight chapter for the art of burying pieces. If you never studied the actual course, this is a great opportunity to look at those positions and understand how you can bury the opponent's piece. Black to play, there is only one winning move for black in this position. That's a beautiful positional pattern for you. Yes, by playing g3, white shut down their rook. Now the rook has no legal squares whatsoever in this position. Of course, they are focusing on their own plan on the king side. They want to simply pp on the pp, take the pawn on h4 and win a pawn. But we will punish them. What's the move, folks? The move is rook b3. Suddenly, the pawn on g3 is pinned, and now the rook becomes a buried creature. Can you see it? The rook has no squares whatsoever. It's not trapped and taken directly on the next turn, but this rook is completely shut down from the game. That's a beautiful positional pattern, and the game plays itself. Black parks the rook on the third rank, and then at some moment they improve their king first. They are still keeping the rook on the third rank, thus burying the rook. And finally, just when white is ready to take on h4 because the rook is guarded, now they go in with this check, and then they take on g3 and they take on a4, attacking this pawn as well. By using these positional burying patterns, black got themselves a completely winning rook endgame with a much more active rook, much more active king, extra pawn, plus pawn. The game is finished. One more position to highlight a unique chapter in this course, folks. Imagine black take the bishop on e5 with knight takes e5. The question is, should we recapture the knight with the d pawn or with the f pawn in this position? There's a separate chapter called two choice tasks. I crafted most of these positions. I clarified them for you so you directly zoom in on the key information, namely comparing two options. This way you don't get distracted by random noise in the position and you're judging, let's say, these two moves in terms of positional principles. The art of awakening pieces and the art of burying pieces will combine in this single and clean example. What is your intuition, folks? What do you want to play in this position with white? It's not brute force calculation. You need to trust your intuitive positional judgment for this move. And yes, you're a great player if you found the only good move, f takes e5. Two big ideas. First of all, you want to activate and awaken your buried knight on g2. The knight was really bad piece. Fianchetto knights in chess are usually terrible pieces, so this gives you an opportunity to park your knight on f4 and press the weak pawn on d5. That's a good thing. Plus, if you take with this d pawn, then can you see, guys, you're allowing an awakening of enemy piece. Most beginners never pay attention to the opponent's pieces when they make a pawn move. Can you see that this pawn on d4 is burying that knight on a6? You want to keep it as such. If you take the knight with the d pawn, suddenly that knight is becoming an octopus on the d3 outpost. Can you see it, folks? It's not deep calculation. These are very short calculations about mini plans, about noticing certain positional patterns. I'll be drilling those exercises in your brain, so these become almost automatic in your games. The second good thing about f takes e5 is this pawn can become a target if black goes ahead and stops knight f4 by playing g5. g5 is a very typical burying pattern as well that I'll be teaching in the burying pieces course, because that pawn is single-handedly killing your knight on g2. What's the problem? The problem is now the f5 pawn is becoming weak after g5. Thus, a very simple plan appeals to white. Rook f2 followed by rook af1, double the rooks, attack the pawn and tie down the black pieces on that weak pawn. White might be slightly better. With best play, black might survive. But if white chose the other recapture, it's black who is a clear advantage. The knight remains buried. This pawn is not attackable and knight e3 is coming. Good luck playing this position with white pieces. Another two-choice task for you guys. Should black recapture the knight with the e pawn or with the c pawn in this position? This course is also about weakness creation, weakness awareness, and trade-offs between different chess principles, right? That's why chess is a complex game, because there are conflicting chess principles and concepts. Usually we need to navigate in real time. So, for example, e takes d5 looks like a very good move, improving black's pawn structure, undoubling our pawns, looks like a beautiful pawn chain for black, right? So one chess principle suggests e takes d5 must be a good move. But the correct move is c takes d5, much stronger than e takes d5. And I want you to right now judge why this is the correct recapture for black. Black keeps the double pawns. Black misses the opportunity to undouble their pawn structure, let's say. So what are the advantages behind the move c takes d5? It's about weakness awareness. It's about feeling for the pieces. The rook gets so happy by taking with the c pawn. Plus, there's a backward pawn on a semi-open file. That's a clear target for black. There is no way for white to play c4, c5 and solve their pawn problem, and ultimately you will put so much pressure on that pawn. They can't even do this because of bishop a3, folks. Follow it up with doubling on the c file. So white needs to be so extremely careful even in this position to be able to defend. You will double your rooks. You might later on even try some a4 operations just to get this c4 outpost for your rook. Follow it up with queen c6 or rook c6 followed by queen c8, forming the Alekin's gun, and there will be so much pressure on the backward pawn on c3, and the white pieces will be babysitting that weak pawn on c3. That was your positional goal. By taking with the c pawn, you prioritize piece activity over structural considerations. This two-choice task will be followed by 3 final test chapters with increasing difficulty containing mixed puzzles. Black to play in this position. Let's finish with this exercise. We're also learning to form middle game plans in this course. Please read the board properly and come up with a plan for black. How would you regroup your pieces for a winning advantage in this position? Please take a stock, stop the video, think deeply about this position, especially those King's Indian players. You will find this exercise rewarding. There's one clearly winning plan for black. Let's see whether we can find it. This position connects to the art of multi-purpose moves. There's a chapter on regrouping in that course. We can multi-purposely regroup our pieces so everybody helps each other. One piece goes here, so the other one can go there, and the final piece can do this, right? That's how you create harmony between your pieces in chess. Let's see whether we can solve this, okay? Interleaving is the name of the day as well in this course, guys. Interleaving means doing different things in a training regimen. We not only do an exchange puzzle, we do different concepts. We touch on several different themes. This way, it's called discrimination learning. Your brain learns to discriminate between different skills, between different concepts, and flexibly apply those concepts in real time. That's the goal of our training. We want to become universally good chess players, so knowledge doesn't remain isolated, but we can flexibly apply them. And this workbook will give you a chance to also build these flexible skills, folks. Well, black to play. What are you seeing, folks? The pawn chain is pointing towards the king side. Clearly, the king on h1 is our target in this position. There are several pieces already eyeing the king side. The queen can also quickly join the h4 square to attack the white king. There are all the signals that we smell from this position that we want to play on the king side. So, the knight has to move for the queen to go to h4, correct? The knight on f6 doesn't do much. It's blunted by the white's pawn chain in this position. So the knight needs to move, but where? That's the key question, okay? What is your target of attack in this position? Yes, the h3 square, typical in the King's Indian. You want to at some point play queen h4 and sacrifice the bishop on h3 and open the pathways for the white king. Then, where is the knight going? If the target is the h3 pawn, ultimately, where should we move our knight, folks? And you're a great player if you found the move knight h7, because this move ultimately prepares knight g5 follow-up in 2 moves, and you will crash through on the pawn on h3 for a winning attack against the white king. Can you see it? I will show you some moves. Queen h4 is on the board. Already there's a big threat. White must play bishop f1 to bolster the pawn, but comes your next move, knight g5, regrouping to its core. Now every 3 piece is attacking the h3 pawn, and a sacrifice is coming with devastating effect. White cannot defend this position, folks. White cannot defend the h3 pawn the 3rd time, and now a sacrifice is coming. Bishop h3 is clinical because after takes, you see, now a deadly discovered check is coming. Well, if you take my knight, then you get mated on the next turn anyhow. This was cute. So after knight h3, the only try is king g2, but then comes mate in 2. Please stop the video and find the mate in 2 for black in this position, folks. And the answer is, of course, knight f2. What a beautiful knight and queen combo. Queen h2 is a devastating threat, and white has no response against that. Can you see it? Rook h1 doesn't solve anything because of queen h1 is checkmate. And if you take my knight, nothing changes. Queen f2 is mate on the board. Isn't it cute? The king is boxed in by its own pieces, and the single queen is giving a checkmate. Going back to this first position, how do you find those multifunctional moves, multi-purpose moves? That's an art form in chess, right? You do one move, you make a move, and with several functions, several pieces get happy if you make that move. It's also about weakness awareness and reading the board properly, which is a very underestimated skill. There are not so many courses on this particular area. How do you read the board and form effective middle game plans in chess? In the actual game, unfortunately, my student played the move knight g8. Logical, of course. He wants to play all these moves. The problem is this gives white just enough time to stop bishop h3 move here, guys. And now you see the knight is so far away from sacrificing itself on the pawn on h3. So now black needs to regroup the knight again. Knight f6, knight h7, knight g5. But you see, we lost time in this position, and maybe white can create some play on the queen side. Even this is dubious for white, of course, but black could have won the game directly in more or less 5 moves by force if they read the board properly, if they identified the clear targets. Once again, guys, let's finish with this homework position, folks. A typical Sicilian pawn structure. Black just played the move bishop e6. The question is, should white exchange the bishops on e6 or should they play something else? What are your thoughts about this position? Please leave a comment on YouTube. I will respond to each and every one of you. This is one of those positions in the course. I'm testing your positional understanding with this example. How do you judge the trade of the bishops? I will leave a link of the course on this video description, folks. Please at least watch the intro, the promo video section. I really deeply describe why I created that course in that promo video. But from an educational psychology perspective, I really believe in the value of this mixed puzzle training. Unlike in the actual courses, you don't know the theme upfront, right? Because that was one of the critique in the actual courses. The art of exchanging pieces, of course I know that there's an exchange here. Or the art of awakening pieces, of course I know I'm gonna make a move to make my pieces happy. But in this workbook, nobody's telling you the theme upfront, right? That's a powerful, very, very powerful learning tool to mix up our training like that. As I said, intermediate players, advanced players will benefit from this course, even experts, but even post-beginners will get great value because of the cleaned exercises I crafted for this course. I clarified most positions for best learning outcomes, so the complexity should not be overwhelming your working memory resources. Having said that, I'm now currently working on a separate course on foundations of chess strategy. This will be really for beginners and post-beginners. I'll be giving you all the tools, all the ground tools to make you a great strategic player as well, guys. And if you like the workbook, if you like the particular concept, or if you notice a particular weakness in your game, you can always go and study the actual courses of the Art of series. That's the final benefit from this course. I'm giving you an opportunity to find, let's say, blind spots in your positional chess. Then you can go and study those courses in much more depth. Please go ahead and buy the course, folks. And Chessable is risk-free. If you don't like the course, you can always get your money back within 30 days after the purchase. No questions asked. There's also a big community on Chessable. I'm very active as an author. You can ask me anything on Chessable while you're studying the course. I know that this will be helpful for you for this course. I can break down the concepts for you. I can always explain the why information, and you'll improve the course. Your feedback will benefit the course, and I will become a better author as a result. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much that you came until the very end of this video. I really, truly appreciate your support. These courses got great feedback, and this was another basic reason why I created the workbook. Thank you so much for your support as well along the way, folks. Wishing you great success. Now go ahead and become great strategic players.